Hello from the Mount Washington Radio Group Video Newsroom. I'm Gare McKenzie. Police in Maine say 3 people suspected of invading 2 homes in Casco early yesterday morning have been arrested. Captain Don Goulet of the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office says 20-year-old Dylan Michael McPhee and 19-year-old Olivia Patricia Pope were stopped and taken into custody by Massachusetts State Police shortly after 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon on the Mass Turnpike in Sturbridge. The pair will appear at an extradition hearing before they can be returned to Maine. Goulet says Freiburg police, working with police in Conway, located the 3rd suspect at his home in Freiburg late yesterday afternoon. Freiburg Detective Sergeant Josh Potvin says he arrested 21-year-old Merwan Masho shortly after 5:15 at 829 Little Chatham Road. The suspect's being held without bail at the Cumberland County Jail. Potvin says he hopes the arrests bring, quote, peace to the victims and a sense of security to those communities involved. He says his department is investigating the Casco break-ins to see if they're related to the recent string of burglaries in East Freiburg. Goulet issued an alert late yesterday morning warning the Casco suspects were considered armed and dangerous after they allegedly broke into 2 homes earlier in the morning, one on Brown Road and the other on New Road. Goulet says McPhee was identified as a suspect by one of the victims after he and 2 other people allegedly broke into the Brown Road home with handguns after a young woman knocked on the door and said she needed help. Goulet says 2 homeowners at the New Road address were pistol whipped and tied up. One man was later taken to Bridgeton Hospital with injuries Goulet describes as non-life-threatening. The director of Conway's Public Works Department says this winter's strange weather has been a challenge for his road crews. Paul DeLiangeli says in his 20 years on the job, he's never seen the extreme cold we've had, followed by rain.
The only way we can keep the roads from freezing is to get salt down and to get it down early enough such that a brine is made, and that keeps the snow and ice from anchoring to the road. So salt does not work in the extreme cold we had. It just simply doesn't melt at single numbers. So it wasn't possible to get a brine before, and during the event, while it's raining, the rain simply dilutes it. So the result was we had a lot of ice build up on roads.
He says his crews are using more sand on the roads than they ever have. Over the years, the amount of sand used and the amount budgeted for it have been reduced, as research shows sand is only good for traction on lower speed roads or hills. Crews are using as much salt as they can get, but Conway is competing with other towns and cities around the state that are experiencing similar weather conditions. Crews are having success now in the recently milder temperatures using heavy equipment to scrape ice off the roads, starting with major roads first. As far as his budget goes, DeLiangeli says his crews have been putting in lots of overtime recently, with a certain part of his budget dedicated to cover those expenses. But the good news is his fiscal year started with the new calendar year. But he says if things keep up at the pace they've been going, he may need to request additional funds at the deliberative portion of town meeting in March, where budget adjustments are normally made.
Of course, our season doesn't follow the fiscal year. Winter straddles 2 years, and December at Bergeron reported that December, I believe, had something like 5 inches more snow this year than the 30-year average, and it was on the order of 4 to 4.5 degrees colder than the 30-year average. So we got started with a bang, but here we are with the January thaw upon us.
Conway crews maintain 80 miles of roads. In sports, Maine skier Russell Currier has made it onto the U.S. team for the upcoming Winter Olympics in Russia. Currier was the top American finisher in 3 of 4 qualifying races at the Biathlon Olympic Trials. Tyler Bozak scored twice, Phil Kessel had 3 assists, and the Toronto Maple Leafs held off the Boston Bruins 4-3 last night. In the weather today, patchy fog this morning, partly sunny today. Highs the lower 40s with light winds, becoming mostly cloudy tonight. Lows of the lower 20s and mostly cloudy Thursday. Highs in the mid-30s. From the newsroom, I'm Gare McKenzie.